Hi, everybody. Welcome to theCUBE's wrap-up of FICOWorld 2025, where data, AI, and customer impact, they took center stage. Let's explore here how FICO and its customers are leading the next wave of intelligent decisioning. I'm Dave Vellante, co-founder and co-CEO of theCUBE and theCUBE Research, and I'm joined by Rob Strechay, the managing director of theCUBE Research, to debrief on what went down at FICOWorld 2025. Rob, good to see you.
Good to see you too. We're in the same place at the same time.
I know, it's rare this time of year. So, for those who don't know, FICO was founded in 1956. It's short for Fair Isaac Corporation. Some of you may have heard that. And it is the premier analytics firm best known for the FICO credit score, which is those three-digit numbers ranging from 300, you don't want to be there, to 850, that's where you want to be. And it's a widely used metric by lenders to gauge consumer credit risk. But FICO does so much more, from predictive modeling, they do decision management software, and that's used to detect fraud and many other applications in marketing, finance, and the like. So, Rob, what was the overall takeaway from FICOWorld?
I think there were kind of four major themes. Really, there was the whole idea of going beyond CRM, exactly kind of what you were hitting on around true personalization and one-to-one decisioning, so that you're getting really deep into connections with the customer. A second thing was operationalizing AI at scale. FICO has been doing AI behind the scenes, underneath the hood, for decades. And I think, again, AI and ML and where they're going with that and helping organizations really do that at scale with the FICO platform. And then really what they kind of looked at as platform as an ecosystem for partners with their FICO Marketplace, which they announced that week, as well as really the platform itself and being deployed as SaaS so that people can really scale up to those millisecond type reactions. And then, of course, can't do AI if you don't have, trust, transparency, and, responsible AI as well, which was, I thought, great. So their four key messages were really dead on for what organizations are trying to do with AI these days.
So, Rob, some people feel like we are now entering the golden age of AI. I remember when I came into the business, we were entering the AI winter, which lasted for decades. So what are your thoughts? Is this the case? And for FICO, is it the case for customers? What do you think?
Yeah, I got to talk to Scott Zoldi about it, and I think that really, because there's so much compute, there's so much algorithms and advanced computing and that can be put onto this, we really are at a golden age where just so many possibilities. And maybe we're not that far, we're in early innings still, but enterprises are really shifting from AI hype to AI reality. And what was nice is they had a lot of their customers who were on board that are building on top of FICO's platform as a data product, as part of their data applications that they're using in AI. And really, it's helping customers really get decisions faster, which I think helps them provide better customer support to their customers as well.
Well, what about the buzzword du jour? Of course, we're talking about agentic applications. So we're interested in, what that was like at FICO, the whole discussion around agents and how customers are building agentic applications. What was the story there?
Yeah, I think, again, Raphael from Bradesco, really looked at this and said they're looking at squads of agents that are able to enable humans to provide better actions to those customers of theirs. And a big piece of that was to deliver better experiences for the customers. So customers were using it for, AI agents around credit and fraud and operational workflows to be able to better and more quickly find things. Because again, these are things that can send signals that don't take just one type of AI, as we talk about with agents. It's built upon multiple different pieces of AI, plus analytics and other sensors that they have for fraud, for instance, to be able to bring that to bear.
So I feel like some companies that I talk to struggle to operationalize AI, and I feel like if done right, the best way to do it is to just embed it into a platform and embed it into applications. So what role do you see FICO's platform playing, specifically in terms of operationalizing AI?
Yeah, I thought, again, it was a lot of fun with them while we were going through this, because Nikhil, their president of software for FICO, really talked about this in depth, in the fact that it's unifying data. And I think we talk about this a lot, and how you can then get all of the data ingestion done. You do feature engineering and decisioning and workflow management all in one platform. I think that helps people with certain aspects where maybe they're bringing it in from a partner or a third party set of data that they're combining with a FICO score, one of the many FICO scores, because there are different, and I've learned a lot about that, which I'm sure we'll hit on, but really enables model reuse and experimentation without heavy code uplift. And I think we've seen that where, the data science people want to get in and play with the models, play with the data in a safe way, and that scales out so you can start small and then go big.
What about the customer experience? How should we think about how that's changing? How is AI transforming decisioning and decision analytics and what the customer actually experiences?
Yeah, it was great. We were kicking off with Will, who's the CEO from FICO, and he brought Liz, who really runs the risk and credit for BMO, or Bank of Montreal. And a lot of what they're using it for is using FICO to unify the internal and external data sources to be able to apply that and get kind of a flywheel going. And what that helps them is helping customers have real financial progress. So they can reach out, and Bank of Montreal can reach out in their example and be able to help coach their customers on how to get from, say, a 600 up to an 850. And here's the different steps you can take by utilizing a lot of the underpinnings that FICO helps, plus the information, their intellectual property that the Bank of Montreal has.
Everybody talks about real time. What is real time? I like to define real time as before you lose the customer, but real time is taking on new meaning here. How real is real time decisioning, and why is it important to today's business?
I thought it was really good, again, talking with Scott about it. They were talking about the fact that you're looking at 30 milliseconds. Now, you and I, we talk in seconds or something like that. And hey, if it comes back in a second, 30 milliseconds to these decisions, because they're so complicated, and being able to use these pre-validated models and streaming data, bringing that all together to prevent fraud, because you don't want to tell somebody or block, a credit card all the time if it's not really fraud. So you have to be able to go through this complex pre-validated models in really rapid time so that you can say, is this something that is, makes a lot of sense? This is, person Rob is in another country, or Dave's over in, Canada for some reason, and all of a sudden, just for the day, your card gets blocked. You don't want that. So they have to look at your patterns and all of these things in that, sub-second category to be able to provide a good experience for those customers.
Yeah, the false positives are super annoying, and but I have to say, fraud detection getting so much better and better and better over the last several years. You talked about FICO scores earlier. How should we think of those as data products? How are they evolving?
They're absolutely data products, and I think they're evolving. In fact, I learned something. There's a new one out. It's called the FICO 10T model, which helps go beyond just trending and snapshots to really bring in that longevity. It's also, been already used for evaluating over 300 billion in loans that are being put out there. So it's new, but not that new, I guess you could say. And a lot of this helps really FICO and their data products that are designed on top of the FICO 10T model really have transparency and broad adoption, because again, you're getting that, the FICO score. As I was talking to them, and they go, are you, funny enough, they go, are you happy with your FICO score? I go, I don't know that I'm happy with my FICO score. Am I ever happy with it? But I know why it is the way it is. And I think that's because I, subscribe to one of those things that helps me understand it and know how to move, like Bank of Montreal is offering as well. And I think that was their point, was that the FICO scores, and there's many, are, built into these different products by those different companies to offer it up so that people can get a better answer, can get a better understanding of where maybe they're falling short.
What about marketplaces? There are a lot of marketplaces out there that I call them Me Too marketplaces. What about the FICO marketplace? They're obviously a data company. How How real is it? Is it a leading example of a strong marketplace?
I think, again, everybody usually baselines, marketplaces, as you and I know, on like AWS and what they've built with, tens of thousands of different vendors and hundreds of thousands of different products. When you start to look at what FICO is doing, it's way more focused towards what they're trying to achieve. And I think it's towards giving their customers, those banks and institutions, healthcare, marketing, and retail, an easier way to go and deploy and bring that data integration. As we know, integrating data in a clean way to bring it to the AI is extremely tough. With this, they had a great example. We got to talk to LexisNexis, and we talked about how you're basically relieving bottlenecks of bringing third-party data in, like LexisNexis, to be able to combine that with the FICO score to build these data products. So instead of you having to figure out and understand IDs and keys and things of that nature and do all of this mixing and mapping and all the modeling yourself, they're already going through and doing that with these trusted vendors that people use with the FICO score all the time. To me, that was such a great way and a powerful way to unlock the power of a marketplace, because it does something that really does save time and sweat equity for those companies. And also, that the data has been validated, so you understand that it's combined in the right ways, which I think really enables plug and play into data products that those companies are building.
We were talking about fraud prevention earlier, and you were discussing locality. If someone's in Nigeria and you're in San Jose, California, well, that's pretty obvious. But how is fraud prevention being rethought? I mean, there's more than just credit card swipes to fraud. What's FICO doing specifically to reinvent fraud prevention?
Yeah, I think it's adaptive analytics. I think everybody wants to say that, there's different ways, but, AI and analytics kind of go hand in hand. And they're really looking at that and learning new fraud patterns daily, not annually. So as going to their FICO platform, this enables organizations to actually take those learnings on from across all of the different types of fraud that are being seen. And this really helps combine that profiling globally and help really scoring those different transactions. So when they start to look at that at a merchant level intelligence way, they can give more accurate, to your point. You don't want your card shut off just because you went to Montreal for the day or something like that. You really want to understand that it's better. I mean, Fiserv talked about how it was really cutting fraud by basis points, and really declines of transactions were actually down by 20%, which, if you look at that, that's massive. And if you think about the number of transactions that go through Fiserv's network with all the credit cards that they back up in that way.
Let's end with business impact. From the customers you spoke to with at FICOWorld, and of course, we always say, if you don't have good data, you don't have good AI. Obviously, FICO is a data company, and they're able to leverage AI probably, more effectively than most. But what's the real business impact you're hearing from customers with AI?
Yeah, I think, again, it was one of the things was great. FICO brought to theCUBE a number of customers, one of them nationwide, that looked at the fact that they were doing 1.5 million credit decisions monthly via the FICO platform. When you start to look at just how big a thing that is for nationwide, and this is nationwide out of the UK, they're a building company. They're the largest builder in the UK. They do a number, so this is not nationwide insurance. This is a very large, and that's like credit approvals to buy a house, to get into something. And what part of this was that their approval times were reduced from months to days. And I think, to me, that's the true power of what AI and agents can do, especially as you build these data products out the right way. And I think that one of the keys was, and that Nationwide even talked about, was the fact that FICO listened to how they were utilizing the data and how did they make it simpler so that they can get to that scale. Because a lot of these organizations aren't tech organizations per se, but they want to leverage a platform because that makes it easier for them to deliver and build the rest of their intellectual property on top of.
Well, you know products, Rob. You know products, you know platforms. As a product/platform person, what do you think the future looks like for FICO? What's the roadmap? Where are they going to focus?
Yeah, I think again, a lot of the next gen feature management. So you know me, I like the brick and mortar underneath the hood of stuff, where they talked about the fact that they were doing things within the FICO platform to make it easier to take on these new features, real time, always on for the customer and the customer profiles. That way you can take on these new features as you upgrade the platform, and it's all done for you underneath that. And the business users can, you know, compose and deploy a number of new use cases without IT support. So this goes back to that, how do I get the power of the AI into the hands of the business? And I think that was one of the personas, was that, hey, IT doesn't want to have to build every single agent. How do I bring the agents? How do I bring the AI? How do I bring the FICO score to that business unit in a way that I don't have to support it every day of the week? I can bring that platform. And I think that was a key. Also, you know, again, federation and federated deployment across regions. They're making great use of the underlying cloud infrastructure that they're built on. And the future vision really looks towards, you could think of, not surprisingly, you know, a natural language interface. So adding, you know, a chat feature into that, like a GPT of that, to help people even go further into not having to be technical.
Sounds like a cool event. A lot of leading edge customers in particularly advanced industries like financial services. theCUBE can be back there. Hope I can do it with you next year.
Yeah, I hope so. That would be great.
All right, thank you, Rob. At FICOWorld 2025, one of the things became clear, and you can check all the action out on thecube.net, that is that AI isn't just evolving, it's empowering businesses to operate with greater confidence, faster, and with greater fidelity. FICO, in our view, is a leading example of an organization that's not just keeping up with intelligence and AI, rather they're leading the trend and driving real customer innovation. Thanks for watching. This is Dave Vellante. We'll see you next time on theCUBE.